So here we are at the basement of a parking of my friend who's standing right there. He's the owner of this Royal Enfield Himalayan you saw in the last video, and this is the motorcycle. How it looks like, feels pretty big in my opinion. And first I'm gonna do is get out of this parking right now. So let's get going. I'm gonna tell you everything on the way. Dude, the parking of this place is so horribly confusing. I'm not even sure. I'm gonna have to follow the signs very carefully because I was in -3 basement parking, and I'm gonna have to make my way all the back up to the top. Took me close to around 10 whole minutes to get out of that parking because it was so bloody confusing. Right now I'm out. Making this bike take a U-turn isn't as easy as you might think it is, because it is a pretty good bike. Pretty big bike, I'd say. What the hell am I even talking about? Where is my goddamn concentration? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to my channel once again. This is ShivAnsh here, back with another first ride review of my friend's very brand new 2018 BS4 Royal Enfield Himalayan in matte black, I'd say. Looks pretty damn handsome bike in my opinion. As you can see, it hasn't even been registered yet. It's barely done about I think I'll check it later, very few kilometers on the odo right now. And this is how the bike is in black, matte black. It's pretty dirty because it's been raining every day in Bangalore. The bike, it's very new. It's a bit dirty, and I like to immediately tell that this first ride review isn't any sort of a biased review or anything like that. The bike actually appeals to me very much. In fact, when I was considering of upgrading my bike, this was one of the bikes in my opinion. But as I'm riding it right now, I feel that this might not be the bike for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you about how I feel about riding this motorcycle in the city. And this commute is mainly going to be about the city commute only, and not anything else of highway review or some sort like that. So let's get going. The bike has a pretty off-roading adventurous look. As you can tell, it gets pretty, I think it's a 19-inch wheel on the front and a 17-inch wheel at the back, with both wheels are spoked and with tube. It's not a tubeless tire, of course. And it gets this bash plate here at the bottom, which is supposed to protect it from any kind of debris on the road. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go ahead and see what this bike has to offer in terms of commuting. So I'm just gonna go get on the bike right now, and the bike feels pretty damn tall according to me. Oh my god, the seats are superbly nice contoured. I mean, this is probably one of the most comfortable saddle I've ever sat on any motorcycle for that matter. It gets these pretty cushiony seats, amazing for the butt. The feel is amazing. I don't know, it sounds weird or not, but the seat is pretty comfortable in my opinion. Saddle is, and it has this tall stance where, you know, in my Apache I'm sitting something like this, but here I'm sitting something like this. Handlebars are pretty upright. They are straightened up and moved a bit back forward, so you're not leaning into the handlebar way too much. And yeah, just gonna go get this started. Oh, nice little instrument console, right? We've got this speedometer right here, gear positioning indicator, clock, odometer, trip meter, and this is what is this? Engine temperature or outside temperature? I'm not sure. Battery light, engine low oil light. We've got this tachometer. A fuel indicator which doesn't work, surprisingly. I'm not sure what the hell is keeping Royal Enfield from making a perfectly functionable fuel gauge. There's plenty of fuel in the motorcycle, still is showing empty. And this is a compass. I'm not sure what the use of the compass is, but you know what, we're gonna go ahead and start this first ride review right now. Hey, the bike sounds pretty loud, man. Bike sounds pretty loud. And let's just get this started. Plenty of power, man. This bike gets around 24.5 PS of power and 32 Newton meters of torque, which is not that bad, I'd say, but for a 411cc engine it's kind of low. But then again, this isn't an all-out performance sports bike. It gets all the ethnic Royal Enfield components which are present in other Royal Enfield motorcycle. So the Himalayan, as much as I know, comes in 3 colors. The white and the matte black, and of course the sleek version, which kind of comes in that camouflaged theme along with the panniers and stuff like that. But now the panniers are made available for other motorcycles as well in the Himalayan category, like the matte black one also gets the pannier racks at the back. So if you have the money, you can definitely opt for the panniers. Pretty good choice of buying them, because the bike actually has the capability of being taken off-road onto dexterity conditions where the roads are not even present. And guess what we have right here? A really bad patch of road, which is going to be pretty amazing test for the Himalayan. Bangalore never fails to disappoint me. Here I was looking for a bad patch of road, and here we are. The brakes work pretty good according to my opinion. It doesn't get the ABS, it only gets disc brakes. I think a 300mm disc brake in the front and a 240mm disc at the back. However, yeah, here we go. Here comes the speed breaker, and it takes the speed breaker really effortlessly. I mean, holy shit, the bike is so bloody smooth and feels at home going over these uneven patches of road, because damn it, the suspension travel on this thing is massive. I mean, you can literally go over a lot of uneven potholes and speed breakers and stuff like that without feeling anything on your suspension, because the suspension travel on this thing is way too much, because this is an off-road bike after all. Amazing, man. Amazing stability over uneven roads, and a good amount of power as well. I mean, this is probably the only first ride review or any ride of mine for that sort where I wish for me to encounter upon really bad roads so I can test the potential of this Himalayan. As much as I've seen it so far, it's doing superbly well. I only have a slight doubt about the tube tires, because if you happen to encounter any sort of nail or anything which can puncture your tire, the air is just going to deflate right then and there. It's not going to be a slow process like you have in the tubeless tires, so there is a lot of chance of you sliding on and crashing in case you have a tube tire. In the tubeless, it's not the case. But then again, that's something you have to be really careful about while riding in India, especially when there's a lot of debris on the road. That's a trademark sign of having to ride in India. But that comes with the price of riding in India, where you can find approximately anything on the road. I wouldn't be surprised if I find any sort of butter chicken on the road, for that matter, because it is what it is, man. You can almost find anything. It's so ironic. So this bike comes with 411cc air-cooled engine, or is it a water-cooled engine? I'm not even sure about that. Don't quote me on that. I'm just going to put it on the screen right now. Turns about 24.5 PS of power and 32 Newton meters of torque, which comes mated to a 5-speed gearbox. And I knew they were the first iteration of Royal Enfield Himalayan motorcycles had like insane amount of issues. Like, people had cracked frames, and the engine wouldn't be reliable. It just rains out of oil, and there were a lot of vibrations issues and stuff like that. But this is the latest iteration, the 2018 BS4 model. I don't see this bike having a lot of complaints as of yet. I haven't ridden it all that much, but I can barely complain about vibrations on this motorcycle as of right now. I haven't taken it to higher speeds yet, but cruising in the city appears to be absolutely no problem for this motorcycle. I'm gonna go try and pick up some speed here. I mean, as I'm riding this motorcycle, I'm again reminded by the fact that this is adventure tourer sort of a thing, an entry-level adventure tourer. So I'm reminded that this bike isn't good at cornering, isn't that adept at being a city commuter. Of course, you can commute on it if you want to, but then that's not the purpose of what this bike was built for. I mean, this bike is more of a purpose driven rather than having parts which appeal for aesthetically or visually or something like that, because almost everything on this motorcycle has nothing to do with style and everything. It's very primitive, very old-fashioned Royal Enfield like, and I can feel the engine warming up because I can feel the heat on my right side of the legs, because I've been cruising in city traffic for a lot of time now, so I better get this pace up a little bit more. But you know what? We're in the city. If we cross 50 kilometers an hour, we're gonna get a ticket. So I'm gonna have to keep the speed in check as well. But luckily there isn't any traffic right here at this time, so I can really take the bike out for cruising and stuff like that, you know, at higher speeds without getting jammed in traffic all that much. But the engine is 411cc. It's a single cylinder. It's cooking up my thighs a fair amount right now because it's getting a bit heated up. This bike doesn't like being cornered, man. I can tell you that right now. And I'm not even sure about it. It gets C8 tires, which are not really that great for the road grip. So I'm having my doubts of taking this bike into corners and, you know, going pretty aggressive on it on the corners. But then again, that's not the purpose of this bike. That's like asking Sachin Tendulkar to sing a really beautiful song for you that will be melodious. It doesn't make any sense. Almost reaching the point where I should be concluding my review, so for this matter I'm going to just immediately go ahead and point out that this is a very purpose driven bike. It is not a commuter. It is not something which you will be happy about taking this on to the city for going to your office or college or something like that. But then again, it's a pretty rudimentary bike. I mean, it's built like a hammer and it's about as effective for the purpose it's been made of, that is off-roading. And can you take it on the highways? I definitely think that you can, but just like my Apache, this thing misses out on a 6th gear, which is going to be a bit of a bummer in the highway, especially when you want that extra gear to calm the engine and make this highway cruising a lot more enjoyable than it can be. As of aesthetics, pretty big bike, I'd say. Weighs about 182 kgs with gas, very identical to the Bajaj Dominar. But dimensionally, this is way bigger than the Dominar, because Dominar actually feels like a Pulsar NS200 on steroids. This thing actually feels like a whole new another animal without any steroids, because if this gets any more beefed up, this is gonna be absolutely massive. And the rear brake feels is extremely spongy. I mean, the second you put a bit more pressure on it than it's supposed to be, when you cross that threshold point, the rear brake immediately just locks off and your rear wheel just slides on the road. Which will be a very good thing in off-roading, because you can actually steer the bike with the rear wheel being slided on to here and there. Nonetheless, pretty amazing bike, I'd say, as is the case with other Royal Enfield present models. Not talking about the Classic, I'm talking about the Himalayan, the Continental, and yeah, because I don't like the Classic models. I'm really sorry about that. Oh my, bad patch of road. It'll be, see, I'm saddling right now, standing and saddling, and the bike actually feels very comfortable for that. Look at that, I'm just gliding over bumps, really effortless. I can guarantee that I'm looking pretty funny on this motorcycle, because this motorcycle is pretty big and I'm kind of skinny and lanky. But nonetheless, I'm able to ride this bike pretty good. I just got the feel of this bike after riding it for I think about what, 10 or 15 minutes. That's it. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm approaching the place where I started this review, so I'm just gonna pull over to the side and talk about the visual appearance of this motorcycle and show you a bit of a walk around or stuff like that. Just gonna step back and let you guys know about a bit of how this motorcycle looks like. So immediately what I like to say is, look at this motorcycle. It looks bloody gorgeous, I'd say. Let me remove my gloves and I'm gonna look freaking stupid, which I actually do. It is, in the looks, the very much of what I expected off-roading motorcycle to look like. You have this very classic retro modern sort of a thing going on with this whole motorcycle as a theme. You get this knobby tires on both front and rear, which are excellent for having to steer this bike off-road. You get this mudguard plus an extra, what do you call this, a beak? Yes, you call this a beak. You get this beak as well. I told you earlier, you get this bash plates under there which can protect the exhaust pipes from having to come into contact with any sort of debris which you find on the road. You get this rack for your placement of panniers and a small saddlebag or something like that if you have one. Tubed and spoked wheels, 17-inch at the back and 19-inch at the front, to take all kinds of off-roading impact without having to damage the alloy, which it doesn't get, of course. This thing which you see right here is actually a placement for jerry cans, which are tools for carrying fuel. And when you're going off-roading, you carry extra fuel because you don't find a fuel station that often when you go out in the Himalayas, which is where this bike is actually supposed to be ridden. And yeah, that was pretty much the conclusion of this motorcycle from my side. So next video you'll probably see me telling you 5 things that I dislike about this motorcycle, because this first ride review has been me blabbering about what I like about this motorcycle, because I'm actually flabbergasted by how good this motorcycle actually is. What else can I say? I'll see you soon in the next video. Take care, bye bye, and over and out.